Morning. Good. Good. All right. So for those who don't remember, my name is Catherine. We might have some people joining on Zoom. So if you hear the computer chiming, that's what it is. You don't have to worry. Just people coming in and out on Zoom. For those who might be on Zoom or people in the room who would like it, I always do a visual description. So I am a white female. I have shoulder length black hair that I'm wearing back today. And I have on a navy blue and white striped top. But I want to thank you guys for joining us in person. This is really nice to have people coming back in and having bigger groups. I'm excited about it. It's a little nervous, you know, because it's been probably like 3 years since I've had a big group in the building. So remembering how to do it and what all the different things. But a few housekeeping things. So we are conducting this in person today and as a webinar. So we're inviting people that are on Zoom to turn on their cameras so they can kind of feel part of it. I'll be sitting at the computer so I can see them, they can see me. We're asking that people try to keep their conversations very quiet or not going on while the presentation is happening. We have amazing technology with us called an owl, but it is super sensitive like an owl. So if there's a little conversation, it will kind of peel off and start videoing that and the presenter. And so it gets confusing for people watching on Zoom where to look and where to listen to. We do have the captions on for Zoom. And like I said, we are going to record today's session. So that's why we're asking that we kind of keep the volume to a minimum to help with that. Since we are in person, if there is an emergency, our procedure is that if we need to evacuate, you're going to use the stairwell down the hallway that you came up to go down those stairs, and you'll make a right out the front door. You're going to proceed straight back to the rear corner of the parking lot, and that's where the rest of our staff will congregate. If we need to do a shelter in place, again, we'll go down this hallway. There's a small conference room on the right that we will all gather in. There are evacuation chairs at the top of our exits, one here and one again at the end of the hallway. If you need help with those or need to use those to evacuate, our staff is trained to use them and we will help you, okay? And then restrooms, if you haven't noticed, on my left, your right, there are 2 restrooms right here in the room. We do ask that you put your mask on when you're moving from your seat to the restrooms. If those are both being used and you still need to go, you go out this door, make a right and go down that hallway. There are 3 more bathrooms on the right side. All of those bathrooms are ADA accessible for you, okay? And I think that's it for housekeeping stuff. We'll introduce our presenter today. Barbara is a member of and serves on the board of the League of Women Voters of Lehigh County. Barbara is the Director of Community Outreach and Voter Services. Barbara brings to the position a background in education, having served 30 years as the guidance counselor in K through grades 8. Barbara credits an interest in history, politics, and education to the involvement with the League of Women Voters. So I will turn it over to Barbara.
Okay, thank you, Catherine. I really appreciate all of you being here today. I appreciate being invited by Catherine and by your organization to be able to share some information with you today about the League, about the coming election, and about how you can get some information about candidates before the May election and also before November. A little bit about the League of Women Voters. Raise your hand if you've ever even heard of the League of Women Voters. Whoa, that's pretty cool. That we actually have people who've heard of it. And by the way, you too?
Yep.
Cool. The League of Women Voters is not just for women. The League of Women Voters also has men members, male members. We also are not just for retired people like myself. We also have younger members and are always looking for and inviting younger people who want to get involved in knowing about government, knowing about voting, to be part of us. One of our goals is to defend democracy. over the years to make sure that democracy is protected and well understood. You register voters, and that's one of the things we've been doing for a long time. But we also educate citizens about voting, about government, and we also provide information so that when you go to vote, you have the best, most up-to-date information you can possibly have about candidates. So with that in mind, should I do it?
Yeah, you pass that little arrow, it should.
Okay. You think this is an old picture or a not so old picture?
Not so.
That is a pretty old picture. This picture is actually from, as it says right here, 1920. Do you think women could vote before this picture? No. Anyone know when women actually got the right to vote? Yes.
I remember two women.
Pardon?
I remember two women and two DBA things and like a bird. Two women work together.
Yes.
Women to fight the vote.
Yes.
Either was men.
Exactly. Men could vote in 1920, but it wasn't until 6 months after this picture was taken that with many women coming before them, Susan B. Anthony being one, that women actually got the right to vote. So in this picture, it says, "Women of America, if you want to put a vote in the ballot box in 1920, put a little bit of money." Because it was a pretty expensive thing when women were trying to get the right to vote. So we've been at this over 100 years now. The League of Women Voters came about because of this movement for women to be able to vote. It was actually called the suffragette movement. So she was a suffragette. I'm glad we don't have to dress like that anymore, girls. It looks like pretty heavy clothes, but these were pretty brave people because a lot of people did not believe that women had the right to vote. There's a long history of women and minorities fighting to have the right to vote. So it's real important for you to vote. So moving on, voting is your superpower. People fought for this right to vote. Anyone know why it would be a superpower? Have an idea why it would be a superpower? Yes.
Because citizens are the ones who get to decide who the leader of our country is.
So good. You get to decide who the leader of your country is and the president. But you also get to decide who are the people here in Allentown, in Bethlehem, in Nazareth, wherever you live. You also get to decide who are the people that are the leaders here and in Washington and in your state. So voting is certainly your superpower. A little bit about what we want to do today. One of our goals is to learn about the coming May primary. How many of you know that there's an election coming up? A May primary. Thing about a primary is a lot of people don't vote in a primary. People get excited when there's a presidential election, but when there's a primary in May, it doesn't get quite as much attention. But we're going to talk about why it is so important. So today we're going to learn about the May primary. We're going to find out how to register to vote. How many of you are registered already? Okay, so we have a fair amount that are registered. And hopefully, those of you who are not registered and will be 18 by the election in May will be motivated to get registered. We're also going to learn about how to vote. Whoops, I want to go forward. There are 3 types of elections in Pennsylvania. We have a state in Pennsylvania where we vote every year. We not only vote every year, we vote twice a year. Not all states vote as much as Pennsylvania does. So we have three types of elections. We have primary elections, which is the election coming up soon. We also have general elections. We'll talk about that. And we also have special elections. In Pennsylvania, during even years, say 20, 22, 24, during those even election years, we vote for the president. Anyone know when we're gonna vote for president next time? Yes,
Next year in November,
yes, in November, and then we will take
November is for
in 1924. Oh, actually, we will vote in 24 for the president.
yeah.
Next year is 24. I'm mixed up about what year it is. We're 24, we will vote for the president. And in 25, January 25.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. So you're right. The next presidential election year is 24. So every 4 years during an even year, we vote for president. We also vote for state and federal offices, but not all of them in those even years, 22, 24. During the odd year, 2023, odd year, right? During 2020, our odd years, we vote for statewide offices. We did 2 years ago in 2021. And we also vote for what we're going to call municipal offices. So we do vote a lot. Special elections are the elections that take place. They're special because maybe there's an office empty, a governor, a state representative, a mayor might be empty because that person dies during office or something, they leave office for some reason. So then there has to be a special election. They can be held during a primary or a general election or any other time that people choose. But just know there's three types: primary, general, and special election in Pennsylvania. This year, the primary election will take place on Tuesday, May 16th, 2023. I think it's about 6 weeks away, am I right? Yeah, something like that. Getting a little bit closer, okay? Primary elections are generally when people don't vote in great numbers. We're going to talk about why it's important that people know about primaries and take the initiative to vote in them, because they really are important. General election this year will be on Tuesday, November 7th, 2023. Okay, so I'm going to talk a lot about that now, but primary first, general election is next. Special elections, we said, take place when someone can't serve. In a primary election, like the one that is coming up, voters choose the candidates to run for their party in November's general election. The word party there, does anyone know what it means? It doesn't mean you're gonna be dancing and singing or what does that mean? Their party. Yes.
Like they're a group of people, like what it's called.
Okay, their group, it is the group, a special group which they might be registered to belong.
It's your political party that you can even, you don't see a whole lot of these, but there might be independent, there might be a number of them. Green ones, and the two green ones, the Republican and the Democrat.
Okay, I'm glad you mentioned that there's more than two parties.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are two main parties, and that's what the primary is about: Republicans and Democrats. In the primary election, Democrats, registered Democrats. When you register, you can register as either Republican, as an independent, or as a Democrat. In the May primary, voters choose, Republicans choose, Democrats choose. the candidate they want to have represent them in the general election. So say there's an off, let's pretend there's a mayor, right? This year, the mayor is not running yet, but that was last year. But let's say the Republicans have 3 people that want to run for mayor. The Democrats have 3 people that are running for mayor. In the primary election, Democrats vote for one of those 3. The one who gets the most vote will be on the ballot in November. Same for the Republicans and the Democrats. So in the primary election, voters choose the candidates. Republicans choose Republican candidate or candidates. Democrats choose Democrat. Everybody kind of got that? Okay. To run in the election. Here's the tricky part. Pennsylvania is a closed primary state. Any guesses about what that means? Closed primary state. You can also read it. As a closed primary state, and by the way, we're going to have a little bingo game later. So some of these underlined, bolded words, you might be seeing again. Pennsylvania is a closed primary state. That means that if you're a Republican, registered Republican, you can vote in the Republican primary. So that when you go to vote, they'll give you a ballot with all the Republican choices, okay? If you're a registered Democrat, they'll give you a ballot for the primary with all the Democratic candidates, okay? If you're an independent or a Green Party or a Libertarian, guess what? Can't vote for Pennsylvania, not the primary. Now, in the general election, you'll be able to vote for anybody you want, whether they're Republican, Democrat, Green Party, Libertarian, doesn't matter. But Pennsylvania is a closed primary state. You can only vote for the candidates of your party. If there are questions on the ballot or a special election, you can vote as an independent or another party in the primary. I don't even think this year in this area, there's any votes. So does everybody understand that? Sometimes people go to the polling place for a primary and they are independent. And when they find out that they can't vote in the primary for the Republican candidates or the Democrat, they're surprised. In some states, they have open primaries and you can do that, but not in Pennsylvania. So closed primary. So 2023, this year and this primary, is a municipal election year. Does anybody have any idea what that means? Municipal. Any idea at all? Another word for municipal could be local. Okay, local. Remember that, local. Municipal, think of it this way. You live in the state of Pennsylvania, right? Oh, you live in the United States, right?
Right.
And then you live in Pennsylvania, right?
Right.
And then you might live in Lehigh County, right? Or you might live in Northampton County or Berks County, right? Familiar with that? But you also might live in a township. I live in Upper McCundy. That's my township. It's a bit smaller than Lehigh County. It's way smaller than Pennsylvania, and it's way smaller than the United States. You might live in a borough. Anyone here know you have live in a borough? I think Catasauqua's a borough.
Catasauqua is.
Okay. You might live in a city. Any Allentown people here?
I used to live in Allentown,
Okay.
now I live in Nazareth.
Okay, so now you, I'm not sure if Nazareth is a borough or a township.
It is a borough.
It's a borough.
Yeah.
Okay. You know, these words, borough, township, they kind of depend on the size of the place. Yes,
I live in Lehigh Township.
okay, Lehigh Township, that's, I think that's not that far from there, is it? No, okay, Lehigh. So you might live in a borough. I live in Fogelsville, that's the city I live in, but I live in the township, Upper Township. So do you see how this is small? Smaller places? A municipal election means that you are electing local officials, local candidates, close to home. Everybody kind of get that?
Yeah.
Do you think it's important? Local election,
Yeah.
okay, we're gonna talk about why in a second. So, what offices, I'm gonna do this really quick. What offices do you think might be on your ballot in the coming election? Yes,
Maybe like houses. I don't know.
think your city or your township. I'll show you a list. These are things that you might see on your ballot, depending on where you live in May. What positions are on your ballot? It says at the top, from the schoolhouse to the courthouse. Schoolhouse. Positions on the ballot. School board members. You all go to school or went to school, right?
Yeah.
Anyone know what a school board is? What does a school board do? Anybody? Yeah,
They make decisions, like those higher up decisions and kind of like budget with the school money.
great answer. How the taxes are spent. The school board decide how the school, say Catasauqua, Parkland, East Penn, Allentown. How is the money gonna be spent that the school has, that the district has, okay? They make decisions about that, about curriculum, about all things that have to do with whose education. Yours.
Yes,
Right?
right,
Absolutely. So do you think school board members are pretty important?
yes.
Yeah.
Incredibly, incredibly. So from the schoolhouse all the way to judges. So if you live in a borough, you might see the mayor or council members on your ballot. Those are people that in your borough make decisions. I'm gonna talk about this. In a township, I have supervisors, my township. There's 3 of them. They make all kinds of decisions. Some townships have what are called commissioners. In the city, you all know a mayor, right? Okay, he's kind of the top guy in a city, and he has other people like the council, depending on the city, how many members? So municipal government is local government. These are all positions that you might see on your ballot. So why should you vote? Talked a little bit about school boards. Why should you vote for any of these people? Mayors, supervisors? Why do you think you might want to vote for them? Any ideas?
I just need to use the bathroom.
So let's think about this. What do you care about? In your life right now, what do you care about? Care about your family. I really like that. That has to do with voting. Family, friends. What else do you care about? You care about your relationships with other people.
with my friends and family.
with your friends. Okay. Any other things that happen day to day? Care about school?
It's actually just
And you're gonna say uncle. Big families, right?
Yes.
All those people. Municipal has to do with all those people, by the way. Local people. Yes, your community, like what happens in it, right? Absolutely. So what do you care about? There's some idea. Think about this. Care about education? Right, school? Do you care about taxes or do your parents care about taxes?
Oh my God.
By the way, we pay taxes, federal taxes, we pay state taxes, and guess what other kind of taxes you pay?
Property.
Property taxes, yes, on your house or what you own. Local taxes, I pay township tax. You pay taxes at different levels. The list goes on, absolutely. We had an easy winter this year, didn't we?
Yes,
But do you ever care about whether your streets get plowed?
I do.
I do. Do you think the president plows your streets? Do you think the governor plows your streets? Who do you think's in charge of plowing your streets?
Your community.
Yes, your community, your local government. Police. No matter where you live, well, most places. We have an upper Macungie Township Police Department. Does Allentown have a police department?
Yes.
Catasauqua? Bethlehem? Okay. Guess who makes the rules and hires those people and decides how much they're gonna get paid? Local government. Firefighting. Is that important?
Oh my God.
Do you like to go to parks? Do you? Have a special park you like to go to? Right. Across the street, that's now. You're lucky. I love parks. In Allentown and Bethlehem, we have fantastic parks. I think Allentown bills itself as like #1 parks in the world or something like that.
Something like that.
Maybe that's an exaggeration, but we do have great parks. Guess who takes care of those parks? The community, local community, municipal, yes.
What kind of parks do you like?
Oh, I love tracks. I love all. I'm thinking the parks you walk in. Take your dogs in.
That would be a dog park.
Well, sometimes it's a dog park. What about parking? Think that's important? Yes. All of the decisions made about all of these things and so much more are local decisions. And the people that you just saw, that list of who offices, guess who makes? They're the people. They are the people. Whoops, did I go ahead?
I think that-
Why should you vote? The people elected to those positions that we've talked about in that list, they have the biggest impact on your day-to-day activity. They are the ones that affect you the most. School board members, mayors, township supervisors, they make the decisions about the parking and everything else. So it's real important. They adopt budgets, make decisions about taxes. Oh, make decisions about how money gets spent. They adopt ordinances or rules for their cities. So they're incredibly important. Most of the things, what we call ordinances or laws in cities, municipal, have to do with public safety and welfare. They are the things that make our communities good places to live. So we want good people in charge. This year, I'm going to do this kind of quickly. We're also going to be electing statewide and county judges. So I'm going to show you a little You'll know what a judge does. Right? My aunt works does she? So she's in judge. Okay, so she knows a lot about the law, right? Yeah, and about how things work. So this year, in addition to electing all those local offices, we're also electing judges all the way from the top to the bottom. So, yeah, here's a little picture. That's why it said from the schoolhouse to the courthouse. So here's a pyramid, right? At the top of the pyramid in Pennsylvania is the Supreme Court. You've heard of the Supreme Court, right?
Yeah.
Probably the one in the United States, right? The big one. There's 9 justices. Well, in Pennsylvania, we have a Pennsylvania Supreme Court. We have 7 justices in the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania. We also have other courts. We're gonna get down to the other ones. We have a Superior Court and a Commonwealth Court. Superior Court has 15 judges. Commonwealth Court has 9 judges. Those are what we call statewide appellate courts. So kind of what happens there in a statewide court is that when there's decisions made down at the bottom of the pyramid, people can appeal them and say, I don't agree with that decision, or a business or something, and they get appealed to those bigger courts. For our purposes here, ones we want to really think about are at the bottom of the pyramid. Court of Common Pleas, there's 451 of them in Pennsylvania. We have the Court of Common Pleas here in Allentown. The one that you probably would be most affected by here are called magisterial district judges. Okay, so I just want to tell you a little bit about what they do, because they are the ones that most people would come in contact with. Magisterial, that's hard to say, district judges. They handle things like emergency protection from abuse orders. If there's some kind of a domestic disturbance, they set bail if somebody gets in trouble, and they might put them in jail for doing something. They set bail so that they can be free until their hearing. Traffic tickets go to these judges. Underage drinking go to these judges. So for the most part, a judge that someone in Lehigh County, Hampton County, Berks County would come in contact with would be the bottom of the pyramid down here. We're electing people to be in Pennsylvania too. And depending on where you live, because there's 517 of them, depending on where you live, your area or your district might be choosing one. So just to let you know, that's why it says from the schoolhouse to the courthouse. So how can you make your voice heard? What's the first thing you got to do? Yes. Register to vote. After you've registered to vote, second thing you got to do, have to have a plan. You'll hear this when it gets close to election time. They say it on the radio all the time. Make a plan. A lot of people that are registered to vote, guess what they don't do? They don't vote. But if you make a plan, you're more likely to follow it through. I have a feeling you've heard that, right? About a lot of different things. Make a plan and follow through with your plan. Can I register to vote? If you're a US citizen, right? If you're 18 years old on or before election day. This year, the primary is May 16th. About 6 weeks from now. If you're 18 on May 16th, you can vote, even if you're 17 today. You can register to vote, put your birthday on. You can also, another last thing here, you have to be a resident of the state and district, your voting district, 30 days for at least. Well, if you're gonna be 18, not too difficult to be able to do that. Whoops. Okay, how do you register? And there's gonna be information we're gonna give you about all this. You can register online at votepa.gov. And you are going to, at the end here, you're gonna get some postcards, and it will give that information. And it also has a QRI. You guys know what QRI is, right? So it has a QRI, you can take a phone and hover over it, but it gives you the information about how you can register to vote online. You can also go online and copy a registration form. And if you do that, you can print it out. I also brought with me some registration forms. So if you'd like a paper copy, you can take one. You can also go down to your local Board of Elections office. In Allentown, it's down on 7th Street. Anybody know where it is? Okay, so you could go down there and actually register to vote in person.
I have a question in regards to that.
Yeah.
On that website, if someone wanted to change their political party, can you do that as well?
You can do that as well.
And if some of the our young adults that may not realize that they are already registered, will they tell them that they are?
Yes.
Okay.
You can go on, and I think I'm gonna show you. You can go on votepa.gov. You can do all that. You can register to vote. You can change your registration from one party to another, or from independent to another party. You can change your address. Okay. You can check to make sure your registration is there. I think I registered. Did I really send it in? I can't remember. You can also find it. So there's lots you can find out on there. Vote.pa.gov. Yeah. I want to see if we can get on this. It's showing up in black, so I'm not sure. Okay. So I'm going to ask Catherine to scroll. Okay, register to vote. And if you scroll down where it says or update your information. So keep scrolling a little bit. So here, let's see how to update your registration, or to update your registration because you moved. Okay, you can do that. It'll show you information about upcoming elections. We're going to talk about mail-in and absentee ballots. So you can do that. So if you go down a little bit, Catherine, register to vote right here. Okay. So it's going to ask you Spanish. I'm not sure what that other language is. So you can just kind of work your way through this and go down a little bit more.
I think that's Vietnamese.
Yeah. Is it? You guys are amazing. How to register to vote, fill in the form, go to the office. You're gonna receive a voter registration card in the mail, then you know, I did it, I registered. So this is a great website. It's actually very easy to navigate. Okay, and if you go down a little bit more, oh, well, maybe back. I want it a little bit back. Okay, could you go to fill in? I think that, yeah, there it is. There. So when you go to fill in, it takes you to the form, and there it is. So go down. There's some questions. You answer them. You can do all this online. Are you a citizen? Are you going to be 18? If you're registered to vote, you want to change your name. You want to change your address. You want to change your party, your birthday. You can do all this online. Some of you could probably do it on your phone. I could not. I would need to do it on a regular computer. So I think there's 12 or 14 things. Filling in your mail address. You need to have either a driver's license or a PennDOT ID number, or you put in the last 4 digits of your social security number. You can check this. You don't have those things, but I would assume people have social security numbers. And here, to vote in a primary, Democrat or Republican. And also there's a place, optional, one more down, you require help to vote. And a different language. So it's kind of all bases covered when you fill this out. Okay, any questions about that? Does it seem relatively easy? Probably the only thing that you'd have to have with you when you sit down at that computer is making sure you have your correct address. Make sure you use the name that you want to appear. Sometimes people use nicknames. Use your real name, it makes it much easier. As a poll worker, sometimes I have people come in, adults like me, they don't remember if they registered with, like, my name is Barbara, but maybe I registered as Barb. Guess what? That's gonna cause confusion. So don't use your nickname, use your full name, and then you'll probably remember it. Okay, thanks, Catherine. So, one-stop shopping. How do you vote? You can vote in person on election day, 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. For the primary, you're gonna get either a Republican or Democratic ballot. They have that information. The last time I was a poll worker, a couple people came in that were registered in one party and asked for the ballot of the other party. I'm a registered Democrat, but I'd like to vote for Republican in the primary. Could we do that? No, only the party you're registered for. And again, it's a closed primary. So if you're an independent, can't vote for the candidates. These are important things, your rights as a voter. First time voter, me, been voting many years, we have the same rights. If the polls close while you're still in line, stay in line. Maybe there's a long line and it's going slowly, but you were there at 7:30, you have the right to vote. If you made a mistake on your ballot, in Pennsylvania, we now have paper ballots where we fill it in with a pencil who we're voting for. If you made a mistake, that's the wrong person, or I put in other marks, just ask for a new ballot. They'll give you one, they'll make sure that they take care of one. If the machines are down at your polling place, you go to put your, well, here, the only machine that goes down is the scanner. If you put it in and it's not working, and they say it's not working, don't worry. They'll be able to save it, they'll put it in a special place. If a poll worker, you go to vote, and the poll worker says, I can't find you here. Or I think this is the wrong place, and it's almost 8 o'clock, or they just can't find you. They'll give you what's called a provisional ballot. They won't put it in the scanner. You can vote on a ballot. They'll put it in a special envelope and send it down to the county office. They just want to make sure that you are a registered and a proper voter. So you have rights as a voter. If they try to turn you away, ask for what's called a provisional ballot. Everybody got that?
Yeah.
Okay, good. That's important. It happens too.
It does happen.
It happens.
As a coworker, I had to do that.
Yep. And they do count them.
Yep.
They go through, they make sure, yes, this person, there was a little glitch in the thing, so yeah, they can vote. If you want to vote by mail in Pennsylvania, right now, we have what's called a no excuse ballot. If you would prefer to vote by mail, which became very popular during COVID, remember? Because people didn't want to be around other people. We have a no excuse ballot. You can use that. If you're going to be out of where you live on the day of the election, or an illness or injury, or you have a disability, you can also vote absentee. But anyone can vote with a no excuse ballot. You have to be a registered voter to receive a mail-in ballot. And there's a number of ways you can do that. So if you can just click on this one, again, you can vote on that vote.pa.gov and get all the information you need and apply for a mail-in ballot. Voting by mail, easy, safe, secure. Again, if you want a different language, tells you your options, mail-in, absentee. That also has little videos, which are great. So go ahead a little bit more. You can, right there, if you want to, you can apply it online for a mail-in ballot. You can print it out, send it to your local county of elections office, or you can take it back. So if that's the way you prefer to vote in any election, you can do that. You can also request that every year you get all of the mail-in ballots for all of the elections. Okay, so there's lots of information here. Okay, so that's kind of repetitious. So if we go back, good. When you do, I'm not going to get into this a lot, but if you do request a mail-in ballot and you get one, here's the tricky part. There's lots of directions. There's lots of steps you have to go through. You just have to make sure you follow them all. Number one, you search your candidates, read all the instructions on the ballot. You might get a ballot in the mail that has two sides. Guess what? You got to vote both sides. There's a secrecy envelope that you put your ballot in. There's also, you put the white secrecy ballot in a pre-addressed ballot that goes to your local elections office. Here's the tricky part. Once you've sealed that all up, you voted, you signed it, you put it into a special white envelope, then you put it into the envelope that's going to be mailed. You got to sign and date it on the envelope. Lots of people forget to do that. And what happens is there's always this big argument about whether they should count it or not. So just make it easier. Make sure you follow the directions. And if you need help from someone, because I would, get some help. Make sure you've done it right. If you have a disability that prevents you from applying in person for a ballot, delivering your mail-in ballot, you can have someone deliver your ballot materials for you. Okay, so actually Catherine is going to have a document that looks like this, and I have a copy of it over here, that say you're going to have a parent or a grandparent or a good friend deliver your ballot for you to the courthouse, okay, to the county elections office. You actually have them fill this out. And if you go down a little bit, it'll just show you that you're authorizing someone else to take your ballot. So I give it to you because I can't get there because my daughter just broke her ankle. She can't walk right now. So she can't get there, but I would like you to take it to the county elections office. Okay. I'm going to give you this signed so that nobody questions you about whether you're trying to pull that sign. Okay, so, right? Because we don't want any funny business going on with elections. So that is online at votepa.gov, and I have copies here too. Okay. Use Votes PA to make a plan. When you vote in person for the first time only, you will need to take an ID, driver's license, your voter registration card that you'll get in the mail when you register, or you can get another ID. You can also take your heating bill, your electric bill. They'll also take that. But you do need to have just the very first time you vote in person ID. It'll actually pop up. Person needs ID. You also need to know where your polling place is. Where do I go to vote in person? And last, what do I do if I'm not in town? Okay, so when you're making a plan, think of these things. What do I need to take? Where do I need to go? What do I do if I'm not going to be here? Make a plan. You can find the polling place for your neighborhood here. Again, I think we're going back to votepa.gov because you can find all this information here. Oh, this is at Voter Services. Yeah. And here find your polling place, you put in your county. I would be Lehigh, Vogelsville, my street. I put in all my information, I submit it, and guess what? Tells me where to go. Close to your house, hopefully. All right, you can also ask your neighbor, where do you go to vote? You can call the county board of election and ask them to. This is an easy way. If you go on votepa.gov, it'll also take you here. When it asks, where's my polling place? It'll take you. You can also go to League of Women Voters. So who's gonna be on your ballot? How can you get information about these people? One of the ways is to go to vote411.org. And we're gonna do this real quick because I want time for you to play bingo. This is a League of Women Voters website. It's not complete yet. Is it? Yes. Oh,
Still voting.
it's scrolling around. This is a website where you can go on, and you're gonna see this in a second. You can go on and put in your address. I think it goes down a little bit. Right here. You can go on this vote411.org, put in your street address, your city, your zip code, submit it, and voila. You're gonna see who is gonna be on your ballot, from supervisor to judges, to mayors, to school board directors. Don't go there yet, because we're still in the process of collecting a lot of information. This is a really quick way to get information, okay? The postcards you're gonna get have this information. Okay. We also put out a voter's guide, and I'm gonna make sure that Kathy has that.
Okay.
The voter's guide has the same information. So, on vote 411, you're gonna find things like your checklist, candidates, what are you voting on, find out. There's the personalized thing you can do. Important dates, May 1st, last day to register. Don't wait. Last day if you get a mail-in ballot, again, last day to apply, May 9th. Voted ballots have to receive by 8 p.m. on election day. If you're not sure, take it there. And election day, May 16th. In English, make voting a multi-generational tradition. Parents, grandparents, you, okay? Everybody in your family, make it a tradition. Because voting, I don't know how to, anybody read Spanish? You do? You know what that says? Could you read it?
Oh, it says, what you were saying in the first one, you're saying.
Yes. And this one says voting is your, yeah, super. And this one says voting is your superpower, but I think it's Spanish, right?
Yes.
It is Spanish. I'm not good with Spanish.
It's a.
So thank you. And we're gonna kind of